Yeah, Caliban that comes through here on Gen G's side. I think the fact that BDD was playing so aggressively, that was deliberate. Because the double dive buddies was so effective.
Yeah.
The ruckus that he caused, Pyosik wasn't able to just utilize that crescent guard in order to make sure that the carries are going to be all fine. And then Rascal gets to bide his time and then go in the opportune moment with that paranoia instead of having to use it as some sort of initiation tool. So
yeah. There's the Karma ban again. So DRX cannot pick Karma Ezreal. It's their rotation. And
Lucian's
Nocturne
available.
is up. Nocturne's up. Lucian is available as well. They're going to actually hover, at least at the moment here, this Udyr. Looks like Gen G have had enough of the Nocturne themselves.
Yeah. And this is what they did the last time as well. Of course, Udyr was banned by, I believe it was Gen G themselves on the red side in the last game.
Yes.
So we're going back to the blue side strats that Gen G has. Let's see what DRX have for us. Sets available. Like we mentioned, Lucian's available. So many different options if they want to mix up the playstyle.
Lee Sin, also another good flex pick.
Lulu also was left up. So
I mean, they left Lulu. They can Lulu Xin Zhao here. And then, you know, it's still strong into the Nocturne. But this means Gen G might just do something else, actually, because they don't have to play.
Yeah, I hope so.
They can play so many different things into this. Like, they can play the Lee Sin instead. So I played on the Korean server too long.
Yeah, I know.
I've actually had to train my brain. But yeah, the Xin Zhao here is a nice answer to the Nocturne, as we've seen. But what if they just play Lee Sin instead? Or what if they, you know, end up playing a completely different poke style? Like they play the Jace, or they do something different, like Jinx Thresh, late game scaling, and then don't play the Nocturne at all. Like, you pick this so early on in the draft because you have to if you want to secure it. But you could have banned the Nocturne instead of the Olaf. But if your whole game plan on this best of 3 is, I hope they pick Nocturne and don't ban the Lulu so we can counter it again, guess what? Gen G is going to draft different. They're going to do something else, and that's exactly what we've already seen here.
Yeah, I really like it. DRX can just take away the Cogmore if they want to have a hyper scaling AD carry for themselves, or they can just grab the Ezreal.
Okay.
Ezreal, not exactly one of these carries that is augmented as much by things like the Ardent Sensor that Lulu does like to build. However, if you put them together in a lane, it's just awful to deal with, right? So maybe this is going to help them out in the earlier stages. Ezreal versus Jinx is something that has been happening for a really, really long time. The extra range does help Jinx out a bit if Ezreal isn't just hitting every single Mystic shot in the laning phase. So it can be an okay situation.
This Twisted Fate ban has been, it felt a little bit weird in the last few drafts, but I actually did write this down for earlier. I checked BDD's solo queue. It's actually his most played recent champion in solo queue of the TF, so maybe that's something that CVMAX has studied and just does not want to allow through. It's a fairly safe ban, even though it doesn't feel like it's extremely poignant to the draft at hand.
Yep. Also banning it away so that Gen G can't just lock in TF Nocturne or something like that, which doesn't give them a lot of frontline and things like that. However, it is still just frustrating as a combo.
TF Gwen, also another frustrating thing to deal with in the meta right now. If they ended up locking that down, they will ban the Nocturne. It's gone. And this makes it feel like that opportunity to play Lulu as that bottom support actually might come to fruition here if they're just going to remove the Nocturne from the table, have that bottom lane be extremely oppressive, try to get an advantage early there for Bao and Becca. And Xin Zhao is still strong on his own. The way he functioned in game 1 was a defensive setup with Xin Zhao, but he can roam around, he can actually be aggressive, get kills, can still work with Wild Growth in the later parts of the game. Doesn't have to be only for the Nocturne.
Yeah, no, I agree. As that's Nautilus, so that is going to deny everything that we were talking about.
Yep. Didn't have to do it, but you know.
Ooh, I like that even more. If you just want to have as many enchanters as possible, I mean, it does make sense. Let's just get another one out.
I think they're going to lock it in. That's a lot of CC that DRX actually have with an extremely strong hyper carry. Ezreal will become in the later parts of the game. Not as great as Jinx, but still, you have that advantage towards the beginning of the late game. Ezreal can just blow you out of the water. As we might see finally Rascal's Gwen. This is something I really wanted to see tonight, just selfishly.
Yep.
And with the draft with the Udyr here and the scaling that Jinx is going to give, some extra side lane pressure actually adds a lot to this draft. And it's going to be extremely hard to match this when you're running a Lulu in your side lane. We might even have to see a draft adaptation here from DRX in their final pick to deal with this Gwen, because this can get out of control in the later stages of the game that Gen G want to play to.
Well, let's see whether it's going to be
later,
Xin Zhao top lane.
How much late game can we look for here? We got the Azir coming in as well.
All of it. It's a lot of magic damage here as far as the top side of the map is concerned, but Jinx should be able to make up for it in the later stages. Gen G, certainly with the no rush 20 style of composition, as Sulka thinking about going for, you know, what is considered often a bit of a hard counter in the Vel'Koz into the Azir, but I love Lucian so much more because now, not only do you have the Ezreal that can be augmented by the Cat, but if they manage to lock him down, then Lucian's going to be able to do it as well. I actually love Bullet Hell more than I like the Ezreal Yuumi combo.
Yeah.
Just because, you know, you get the final chapter and the culling down at the same time, and you can't dodge all of those. It's like you got all of the power-ups in your game.
It's basically impossible to get out of that one, and it's going to be very this is going to be a real big, I want to say test, but I feel like that's not a fair word to use with BDD, who's actually a storied player. He's a legend, our top 3 mid laner here in the LCK, but it's going to be a very difficult game for BDD to actually survive the Lucian priority that's going to come through against a Xin Zhao as well. There's a lot of ways that this can go very badly for Gen G if they lose control of the game early and things kind of snowball against them. However, if they can play a stable mid-game, and BDD and Clid actually have a really nice timing at level 6 where they can start punishing the Lucian, actually take control of that lane and really start to grab hold of this game. You get Rascal in the side lane doing a ton of split pushing. Someone has to answer that, and right now, the composition for DRX doesn't have a great answer for that. So you're really looking at a terrifying late game that is going to be so difficult to deal with if DRX are even or if they're behind. I mean, forget about it. Against the massive scaling that Azir is going to bring to the table, Jinx as well, the split pushing that Rascal has, like, you better get a tempo advantage with this Lucian pick or you are going to be in a lot of trouble if you're DRX.
Yeah, it's an interesting comp from DRX, though. They do have a lot of scaling into the late game themselves with their sort of double 80 carry composition that is then augmented by double enchanters as well. But we've seen this style of draft attempted before, and sometimes it can just fall flat on its face. The real difference maker here is Pyosik, and we saw in game number 1 that he was able to soak so much pressure as this Xin. He needs to do that again, and he needs to try and find some openings in this early stage of the game in order to try and get himself online. But, I mean, the onus is not on Gen G. This is the really difficult thing to look at, right, is that DRX, they're like, all right, we're going to have this again. We're going to be able to do this scaling comp situation. But then you look over, and now they're staring down the barrel of the Jinx and the Azir. And
this feels like a game where the wild growth target will not actually every time be Pyosik, but probably Sulka and Bao. A lot of the moments where you see the engage come through. Gen G have a lot of CC. Bao took cleanse, and he may actually have to build a QSS later on in the game too. When you think about all the ways that this can go very wrong. I mean, between the Chompers, Ruler's Slow, BDD has Emperor's Divide. You've got Rascal who could slow you with his ultimate. Okay, there's an Udyr here, Thresh. Like, there's so many ways you can actually just die as the carries here for DRX, so you have to be oh so careful. And it's really terrifying when you think about it that way. Even in some mid-game skirmishes, things can go very wrong for you very quickly if you get out of position and you do end up getting chain CC.
Well, as you can see, laners have begun their laning. Bit of a shove out from Sulka in the early game. I like it a lot. The Lucian being able to give Pyosik as much space as possible. One of the things that you do really want to guarantee is that you do get as much priority as possible with your solo lanes, because otherwise Clid should be able to get around the jungle just that little bit faster and can put that extra pressure on from that position. So having laners in control is going to be even more important. You can see Kingen also with the shove on this top side, and Lulu is going to do that.
Yeah. BDD also one of the players who, you know, through a lot of last season, loved to play the Azir. You know, he was more of a Syndra type player for most of the season. That was definitely his most played, but Azir was one of the ones he did really enjoy to play and was a big master of, and historically has been across multiple years of play. So definitely one of his best champions. So this is not just some sort of weird wonky pick, it's just a comp that kind of all-ins on the idea of scaling towards the later part, and he's just so good at it.
Plus the Q got buffed by like a 1 second on the cooldown or something like that.
It's the mana cost, I think, got a little bit decreased. But yeah.
All right. Okay. I knew it was something that was mostly inconsequential.
It's not really, it has nothing to do with why he picked it in this game, that's for sure.
I agree.
It will help his laning slightly, but, you know.
We'll see how he's going to go right now. As you can see, actually ahead as far as the farm is concerned. BDD and Pyosik at exactly the same time.
He's actually
Taking their Rift
crushing
Cutlers.
Solka right now.
Yeah, Solka actually not really making the trades that he wants to.
He went Comet, and he's hit, I think, 2 of them already. He's also just trading back super well. The first wave he had to catch, but now he's actually pushing them through. He's harassing Solka. Like, this is not how this lane is necessarily supposed to go, and BDD is just showing again his mastery of the champion. Solka actually might just straight up get solo killed if he's not careful here. This is a beautiful play already from BDD in this early game.
Yeah. Solka's still sticking around, doesn't want to give this one up.
Like,
you were
another
talking
Comet.
about, the Comet issue. It is a big one. Solka now going to be going back. Is the back going to be mimicked by BDD, making sure that he's not going to miss out on any time. Is now Kingen in a bit of trouble. Rascal moves up the mist. Kingen makes it enough space away in order to keep himself alive. But Clid testing the waters. I respect it.
Yeah. This is a game where, it's not like there is no late game for DRX, right? I mean, you mentioned it earlier, they have 2 really strong late game carries, arguably. Lucian isn't going to be as great as Ezreal, depending on how fed he gets.
Yeah, it's interesting because, like, Lucian, not one of those 80 carries that you think is a hyper carry, but
he can be.
Yeah.
If it's Chovy and he gets far enough ahead, yeah, sometimes.
Yeah. And also, if you give him enchanters, stuff like this, then he becomes even more valuable, right? So that's what sort of skews it in their favor a little bit.
Because his range is pretty low, so it makes it hard for him to fight. But the thing I was going to say about it is that because you think about those things, you don't feel like it's desperation for DRX, but they have the comp that definitely should have a little bit of a tempo lead early on. And if they end up like losing out, like you pick a Lucian last pick and then you lose lane to Azir, then you end up getting killed in the top lane with the Nudir roam, which almost happened there. Like, these 2 things almost just occurred, and if they happen, like, how do you ever expect to beat Gen G if you can't actually beat Gen G at their weakest? You haven't even gotten to the second form of this boss.
Yeah.
And there's a lot more to go through, and this is going to be a longer game. It's not the greatest look, not the greatest start here for DRX, but they have survived both of those near misses in the mid and top lanes.
And they were behind by about 1,000 gold in both of the games, regardless of the outcome, as they were different in both 1 and 2. So it's not necessary that they get massively ahead in the early stages. But this time, Gen G are going to be able to start off with this Infernal Drake. Next dragon going to be the Cloud. So we've got either a Ocean Soul for the very pretty Rift, or some rocks being strewn
Level
around
6
with
timing.
Soul is, BDD not going to flash forward or anything like that, but Solka really getting pushed around here in this lane. You can tell, you can feel the comfort zone that BDD's in right now.
You feel too, also like how calm Solka was in that moment because he also didn't flash. He also walked away path slowly around the edge, and this is the LCK total on the win rates for these. Ezreal Yuumi not doing so hot, actually.
Yeah, when it became really popular,
everyone's playing it.
We just couldn't figure it out here in the LCK. It just really wasn't our thing. Then we discovered Lucian Yuumi, and we were like, this is the one we like. We like this one. That's not happening this time around, but it sort of is.
Yeah. So he survives, Solka does. The level 6 timing, you have to see the Udyr with the Azir finding the value. It was actually a roam from Rascal in this case. DRX staying stable, 300 gold down, but that's not where you want to be against all the late game. And once again, we're looking for Kingen.
Thought he was going to move back a little bit faster than that as the needlework is going completely wide. Wild Growth comes out. And Rascal and Clid not able to find any joy, but they do get themselves the ultimate as we've got another pause to come in here.
Pioshik was on camera when that happened. He looked very surprised by the pause, so I imagine it was not called by DRX. I think it was a Gen G pause once again.
Yeah, I'm kind of assuming it's over their side. However, we're not really seeing too much from this side, so having a little bit of a peek back.
Looks like, actually, it is on the DRX side.
Yeah. So that looks to be Kingen having a little bit of an issue, and he didn't respond to that gank at all, so maybe he was confused about a vision glitchy thingy or something. I'm not entirely sure.
It's possible.
Just trying to work out what could have been strange because we were at least looking at the top side of the map.
So something.
Ah, okay. Apparently something popped up on his UI. Was it a Nudia? No. Yeah, it's just going to be sorted out. I think this is something that's not actually in game, and it's just something that popped up. Might have been the fact that there's like he's got his new PC.
I've had something weird like this happen to where like something pops up on my screen. This is a really cool little pause screen we have where you can see the state of the game.
Yeah.
I've had this happen where like something pops up, like the wrong summoner spell appears over my like flash for a second or something like that. You know, that's not the exact example, but something like that happens, and then
yeah.
I've found that when it's something that really bothers me, if I just reconnect to the game, it's just back to normal. So that might be what we just do here. But it's apparently, according to our producers, a really easy fix. So.
Yep. Often, when it comes to these sorts of things, it often is a very easy fix, which is turn it off and then on again.
Yeah.
Or close it and then open it again.
Basically, since the beginning of computers, that has been the universal answer.
Yep.
And also when you call the tech support, that's usually the first step.
It's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. But it does mean that we are going to extend today just a little bit longer, Wolf.
It's been a long night for you. It's been a long day for you. You went to school this morning.
I did. I'm back at school. I feel like a youngin' again, you know? There was all this talk of Atlas the Boomer, because I am quite old out here, but I'm back at school. I'm feeling young.
Do you feel like, I have a really serious question for you. Do you feel like the 0 and the 7 are a little bit too close together and the 1 and the 4 are a little bit too far away from each other?
100%. I don't know what's going on here, but I think we need to get that screen off. Because it
get that away.
Thank you very, very much.
That was just very wrong.
It was somewhat offensive. If someone spent, tried their very best to get that screen out to us as quickly as possible and it was all handmade or something like that, I would feel awful.
No, I know.
That would have been really, it's really nice of them, and I appreciate the fact that they were, you know, making sure they give us all the information. But yeah,
it was a really cool screen.
It was a little bit frustrating.
It was a really cool screen. We didn't have it for the last pause, but the last pause was before the first jungle camp had been taken, so it didn't really feel necessary, but that was cool. I actually like that the state of the game is up there for everybody to see.
And I'm really glad that we pointed out to all of you at home the very frustrating positioning of the numbers that you may not have necessarily seen, but now that you have, it's triggered you completely.
But only for a few seconds, so, you know, I don't feel too guilty about it.
It did seem like I was offended by it and I told it to leave. That did make me feel powerful. As currently, if we go back to what the state of the game is, Gen G have themselves the Infernal Drake. They blocked that one down. And next dragon that's on the menu is, of course, the Cloud. And then we've just ticked over that 8-minute mark, so Shelly has popped out of her shell. And she is now lying in wait.
Pinged right away, right after you mentioned it, too. Ping gets dropped. That's probably from Clid. He's saying, all right, you guys make the preparations. I'm going to go ahead and take this buff and head right over. And once again, BDD has been crushing this lane. Lucian wins a lot of lanes against control mages, you know, especially into like Orianna or something like that. Seraphine's going to be hard. Against the Azir, it's harder than it is against some of the other control mages, but still, it's usually not quite this dominant for BDD, right, into a Lucian pick. It's just, he is making it look like this is a matchup you should never play. And it was actually the counter pick from the DRX chose. It's not working out.
It has sort of, especially with the way BDD plays it and with this more early game oriented sort of decision, you know, if you had seen lethal tempo or something like that, maybe you're thinking that he's not going to be playing for the lane domination, but because of the zone of control that you do have, it's so hard to actually just dash in.
Yeah.
Because then you have a Sand Soldier behind you, and then there's no real way that you can get in your 1-2 punch with your bullets. So, you know, there is trading patterns that works out quite nicely for the Azir, but like you mentioned, I mean, this Lucian was picked face up into it.
Yeah.
This was Solka's decision.
And it's always annoying when you have to deal with that Comet, because with Azir, because you're just never going to miss. You can't miss, basically, so you always trigger the Comet every time. Now we're starting to see the first time we actually get a Gwen that gets away with split pushing. This hasn't happened in any of her games so far, where she actually gets to press E and then bring the scissors over to the turret.
Yeah, actually hitting the turret. It's only 10 minutes into the game as well.
Oh my god, Rascal! I knew he'd be the one. I knew he'd be the one to pull it off.
Uh-huh. Even able to carry his hula hoop a little way as well as Kingen. He turns up, but yeah, picks ain't gonna help you. That plate comes out. And that's a bit of extra money going over to the Gen G top laner.
He did go ahead and buy upgraded boots, Lucidity boots this game, and we'll see what he ends up building after that Rift Maker, because we have seen so far only pure AP Gwyn so far in the LCK, whereas in other regions we've seen that Nashor's Tooth come through. We've seen more of a split.
Yeah, not
style.
going for like the extra attack speed or anything like that.
Yeah, so LCK has been kind of unique in that regard, full AP, but in this game we'll see if, because Rascal has, I feel like, the most stable Gwen we've seen so far, like maybe it ends up being different for him this time around.
Potentially. I'd like to see the Nashors just because I love the synergy, right? Ripmaker, her passive, and the Nashor's Tooth really all working in conjunction with one another. Sonya's is just so strong. Pyoshik, speaking of strong, is looking for the Wind Becomes Lightning. Finds it onto Rascal there as he walks away, burning down to the Brambleback buff.
But I mean, look, this is a game where we've got a Jinx and a Zir, and 2 Drake lead here. You have your Xin Zhao on the top side of the map, but you don't make that pick work. And meanwhile, what you're giving up on the bottom side is Rift Herald dropping, so that's going to be a ton of extra gold to Ruler, so accelerating his spike in this game. And you're also losing your second Drake. It's going to be a Mountain Soul as well, so very relevant here in this game. It just makes the situation for DRX feel all the worse here. They're only 1,200 gold down, but it feels like they are miles behind, or kilometers if you're outside of America, in terms of where the state of the game is right now.
It's really not what you're looking for. If you are DRX, feels like I don't know. And this happens, right? This is something that we have grown used to, which is a genius move, right? Something that really does just work, something that we hadn't seen in the LCK before. And then, you know, sometimes it just doesn't really hit. And this is still, I mean, it's 12.5 minutes in. It's not like this is over by any means, and DRX are only behind by about 2,000 gold. There's still options.
Life says, please don't back, but it's too late to back. They're still going to look for something here.
King is relatively far up. Does have Flash available and Wild Growth, so it's deceptively durable.
Yeah, he's also 2 levels up on Clid, and Life...
There's the Flash, though, and the hook is going to be so easy. All right, yep. The stunned Yuumi. 100%, I agree.
His reaction time was just a little bit late there. I feel like he certainly could have lived that. Didn't use his Flash, didn't use his Wild Growth. He just...
Yeah, he got chain CC'd, right? Yeah. The wind up for the hook was enough time given by the bear stand stun.
You had one chance to dodge the hook, and if you do that, it's a totally different story, but he didn't.
Yeah.
I want to see that again because that was actually pretty incredible when you think about it.
I mean, I don't know, I think it's a bit disrespectful from Kingen to just decide not to flash when you see 2 people running at you. When you're at that low health.
It's a panic moment because if you mess up the flash or like Life predicts your flash, then you die anyways and then you lose flash. But I think in this moment it was pretty clear that you flash, you're out of range of the hook. I want to see the replays to be sure, but it feels sad that Kingen had to die, or Kingen didn't have to die there. It feels sad that he did.
Yeah.
And he had the flash available and all the resources that were spent to track him down. Let's actually watch this one more time. So yeah, he doesn't have any vision of Life or Clid right now. And... yeah, he's bear stunned into the hook actually, so
yeah,
if he flashes the stun, and
you
the
just
hook
flash
predicts it,
when an Udyr is running at you, about to stun you, I guess.
I guess the idea is if you flash the bear stun and it's predicted, then he just hooks where you land with the flash and you still die.
Yep. So. Or maybe he thinks that he just isn't able to actually trade a kill underneath the turret or anything like that. But I don't know. Once again, hindsight.
It's
2020.
Unfortunate that he dies, but you know, it was a really proactive play from the side of Gen.G again. Ahead in objectives, now up 3,000 gold for Macro alone, right? No kills before this moment. And they're up a turret. This is a bad situation for DRX, and it's not going to get easier, I can tell you that.
Well, Kingen is fighting back here against Rascal. Clid in perfect position. Kingen, of course, still has the flash. And Rascal, yeah, he's trying to dash as much as possible. There's the flash that we were talking about.
Oh, no.
Wrapping around, but Clid, he's got turtles available. He'll be absolutely fine. Pyoshik waiting for Clid to come back and try and clear out this camp.
Like, we're watching a Jinx get the free lane swap now.
I like that Clid was trying to stay.
Oh my god, now they can't
Rascal,
leave!
yeah, teleports behind them, but they do take the right direction out.
This is actually insanity, though, when you think about what's happening in this game. Like, they rotate back and try to trap the swap laners on the bottom side. Meanwhile, free push top.
Yeah, when it becomes Lightning connects, but Clid, He's going to be okay. Makes it out.
That's
As
not
the,
how science
Frostfire
works.
Gauntlet.
That's not how science works, by the way.
How does science work, Wolf? Can you explain it?
I mean, it's a big discharge between I'm not going to get into it. About how the
Wait, waves or particles?
Particles.
Okay.
No wind involved, actually, in lightning. Sorry to say.
No, but it became the lightning.
So the wind actually comes from the low pressure areas generated by the storms.
Uh-huh.
Tell me more. But that's all I'm really going to say about that for now.
Do they rub together? It's sort of like static electricity. The wind rubs together and becomes lightning.
Maybe for Xin Zhao, I guess.
Uh-huh. That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
I'm now imagining Xin Zhao when he's using that move, he's rubbing his hands together really fast. And then the wind becomes lightning.
He's also like,
there it is again.
He's wearing his shoes and rubbing them on the carpet.
Yeah. And then it gets channeled out of the pike, as now, thankfully, we're safe from this conversation as the needlework comes through. King in with the wild growth, trying to dodge the last couple of ults and does make it far enough towards his inner turret. Kyoshik comes around as well. True Shot Barrage connects onto Rascal. There's the bear slap hook. Happens once again. Life and Clid together, playing really beautifully here as Crescent Guard was okay, but a little bit late.
Feels so vindicating if you're a Gen G fan after watching that first game to watch them just outclass mechanically DRX in 2 and 3.
Oh, there it is! Catches him in the flash, the playback as well. Life is a beast right here. However, the Azir is still going to fall. It's worth it.
I mean, this is just a highlight reel for Gen G, right? You know,
that's 2 for 1 because Kyoshik was still dead. Sorry.
Oh, this is basically just becoming Gen G's red carpet they're walking down to the late game because they've out-macroed DRX, they've had better rotations, and yes, they ended up being
This is actually what Gen G calls an early game comp.
Yes, I guess so.
Because it's Gen G, right? They always play for the late game. This is about as early game as you're going to get, but damn, Life just, that's like 3 plays in a row that is now like put them at 5,000 gold in the lead and probably just going to win.
Yep, I mean, I think this game is probably over. The ways back into this are very slim and are very reliant on Gen G making mistakes at this stage, but we're seeing so many proactive plays here from Gen G, and this is what they do when they run the Udyr. They always have Clid hover around Rascal. Life has the play here over the wall, what you were just talking about, but it's so common and so predictable even for Gen G. It was one of my issues with them last season, is they're always playing around Clid Rascal with the Udyr, whether it was the Aurelia, whether it was more commonly the Camille, the Renekton. That's how they play it, and in these side lanes, again, you see it happen, but this time Life's getting involved. We do see the trade back here on the kill, but it's a 2 for 1, obviously, and I feel like the walls are closing in here on DRX in this game because Azir's only going to get stronger. You know, the side lane for Rascal, I didn't actually see what item he just ended up buying, but look at the gold leads across the board. Jinx is the one who has 2,000, and that's the last one you want to have the 2,000 gold deficit in, is the bot lane here. Yeah. It's a disaster.
Yeah, this is really just on cruise control right now. Valve, pretty fantastic to be able to get that trade kill back onto B2D, of course. Sort of praising B2D for how he started that play. Of course, counting some cooldowns there as well to make sure that the Arcane Shift wasn't just going to make the whole thing irrelevant. But still, able to get that kill back was Bao, so he's going to be relatively strong. There is something I want to address, Wolf, and that is the fact that Sulker has kind of eclipsed me when it comes to his item build choice.
Yeah, I just see that now, okay.
I haven't seen this one. I'm pretty close friends with Rusty back in OCA. He really liked the AP variant of the Lucian. This one not quite as much.
The Gale Force, we have seen most commonly. Yeah, we've seen a little bit of Kraken Slayer, but this is quite unique because this is essentially saying that DRX know that their win condition is to actually blow up these squishy carries, but when you have a Thresh there, you have an Udyr for extra peel. I mean, I see the idea here. It feels like desperation, and I think that Eclipse is showcasing where DRX is, unfortunately, in this third game in the series. It's just desperation. That didn't need to be the situation you're in this game, but the early game went so badly for them that you're really just hoping your lethality here, your additional lethality for the Lucian is going to help you blow up a Jinx if she's out of position, if she gets caught. Maybe, hopefully, maybe rubbing your hands together to make some electricity, to make some lightning here. I don't know.
Thank you very much. You validated my assumption of how wind becomes lightning. That's absolutely fantastic. Yeah, I haven't really seen it. It also kind of invalidates things like the Ardent Sensor And,
Yeah.
you know, the Yuumi, you want to kind of have consistent damage rather than, and scaling damage with extra crit, attack speed, things like that. Whereas the lethality is more about, I can cull the entire team to death. And things like that.
Yuumi's got a Lost Chapter, a blasting wand, so you never know what kind of damage could come out.
Yeah, there's a Forbidden Idol,
Yeah.
and Kingen, it's kind of ironic that the Forbidden Idol is one of the items that's absolutely allowed coming out of the DRX comp right now, because you know that Eclipse is a strange one.
It certainly is. I mean, you can understand some of the reasoning, but it's just it's a symptom of the bigger problem here, and
it might have just been an adaptation based on, you know, where they are in the game.
I think that's what it is.
I can respect that.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. Rascal's getting caught.
He's in a bit of trouble here, as he does throw down some circles, but hula hoops ain't going to save you here. McGuane is going to fall. So Pyosik on the board now, couple of kills. Sorry, one. I was looking at the other jungler. It's been a long day.
It has.
Oh my goodness.
We're at 11:30 now. You and I have been here for 8 hours now. But anyway, the Eclipse here, I think, like you said, it's an adaptation. I don't know if it's going to be enough. I don't think it will be. But in 25 seconds, the Mountain Soul is going to spawn, and Gen.G are in pole position to take it. There's not much DRX can do about this, unfortunately. And I mean, look at the items for Jinx already. You got the rapid fire cannon online. Like, question mark pings here onto Pyosik. Like, where are you at, man? That was for DRX.
Yeah, he's certainly on walkabout. Teleport is going to come forward here as Rascal wants to get some revenge. The Crescent Guard comes in, but he's still going to get stunned. The hook is going to connect, and that's exactly the target he's looking for. Pyosik ain't feeling so audacious now as Rascal fighting against 3 people, or 2.5, I guess.
This is, you could see the frustration in some of these plays from DRX. They're desperate to make that bot duo push something, and there were literally DRX pings, question mark pings from his own teammates on top of him, and I don't think that was saying, we don't know where they are, or they might be here. I think it's saying, why are you there? Because he was there, and then he wasn't. Somehow he disappeared with Lulu off the map, and now Gen.G are looking to take a Baron. And it feels really sad because I think this comp for DRX has really shown its age in terms of a best of 3. You had this answer to Nocturne. They didn't play it.
Barrage. Not quite.
Nope. They had the answer to Nocturne, you know, in game 1, game 2, they had Xin Zhao didn't do anything, and then in game 3, okay, we're going to watch this moment again. This was a nice little read, a nice little catch on the Rascal. This is what they did right, actually, the Lulu and the Xin Zhao in the bottom lane. But this draft feels like a last-minute adaptation. You try to get the mid-prio with Lucian. You try to have, you know, a game where you can scale up. You have the 2 Enchanter supports essentially in this game, but you fall this far behind, and the game just snowballs against you before we even get to see that late game.
Yeah, it's just so good to see Gen.G with this early game comp, you know? This early game Gen.G comp that they put together.
Yes, very much. That's what I've been waiting for all night.
Yep, sometimes you just have to take what you're given. And the way Gen.G's playing it, I mean, man, it's 24 minutes into this game, and it is feeling like a shellacking. 8,000 gold, the lead for Gen.G. They've got themselves the Baron. Rascal, he's, yep, just puts down the circle, runs himself away, gives them the good old thumbs up, says you guys did a great job, watch your base die.
It doesn't look so misty with that skin, but you know.
No, it doesn't.
We'll give it to him.
I like that. It does look like hula hoops, like Technicolor hula hoops.
Yeah, I can see it.
Can we call the ability Technicolor hula hoops from now on? It's difficult to say in a team fight, but we'll see how we go as the game continues. Bao close to half health after 1 zap, I believe. Or was that just an auto attack? It might have just been, as there's the Emperor's Divide. BDD in a bit of trouble here. Good knock up. But there is, of course, a stopwatch available. Solka gets over the wall. Pyosik in trouble. The final chapter. It doesn't even seem to matter here as Gen.G are just immortal at this stage of the game. The bear slap onto Kingen, and he just gets phoenixed to death. Bao now running for the hills. And this is going to be all she wrote on this one. Gen.G, they were the expected victors in this series after game 1. I think there was a bit of doubt in some people's minds as there it is, the Technicolor hula hoop coming out to celebrate the end of this game and the match 1 victory for Gen.G here. DRX made them work for it, but certainly coming back when it counted on the side of Gen.G as the Nexus will finally be taken down here just before midnight.
Yep.
Thursday night.
You could see Solka puts his head in his hands, puts his head on the desk. That was not the game. That was not the draft. that DRX were trying to look for. They tried again to counter the Nocturne that didn't get picked. The Nocturne they banned. They couldn't salvage the draft. And, you know, we ended up seeing an Eclipse Lucian. We ended up seeing, you know, Ludens built by the Yuumi in the bot lane. And I think